Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience. Hello and welcome into Those Were the Days, which is a podcast, but not a podcast about just television. It's a podcast about television that's classic, but not just classic. Classic isn't over 20 years old. You know, it's the classic TV that we all grew up with, but not just anybody that grew up with it. No. It's just the four of us, just the four of us in these little chat windows right now, what we grew up with, sitting over here next to the telephone, the brown phone though, not the black phone. All right. The one against the wall. And the red chair. The red chair that we pushed against. Yeah, that one. Okay, excellent. I am your host tonight, Travis, a.k.a. TVsTravis. We are still exploring TV pilots. And we watched something rather interesting. But I can't do this alone. I need a whole bunch of friends. And joining me on this first is Steven.
Diane, I'm on my way to a sleepy little town called Twin Peaks. I went through McDonald's on the way up, and since I was in a hurry, I decided to dine in. I ordered a 20-piece nugget and a quarter pounder. I've been watching my weight recently, as you know, so I decided against the milkshake. There's been a murder. I'm gonna look into it. I had them put Big Mac sauce on the quarter pounder. It's a little customization I like to do because I don't really like the smaller patties and the bread in between. I also got the hot mustard sauce because I think the nuggets are too dry without them. Anyway, like I was saying, I'm planning to stop at TGI Fridays for some chicken wings in about an hour. I'll read a paper, then turn in for the night at a reasonably priced motel with HBO and a warm shower. How do they make those burgers so tasty?
Also joining us is Audie.
Diane, 11:30 on February 24th. Close to entering the town now. You'll never guess what I found on the way here. A magnificent establishment called Buc-ee's. Spelled B-U, 2 C's, hyphenated, and 2 E's. I needed to tank up, and it was the most convenient place to stop. It was one heck of a stop. Imagine if a gas station was a theme park, but without the roller coaster rides. But it's so good of a park, you don't miss the rides. That's how good Buc-ee's is. Plenty of spots to fill up the tank, which I did. I'll get you that total. Then got some of their damn good food. Amazingly good brisket sandwich, fine chips, great original flavor soda, and the best fudge I've tasted this side of Mackinac Island. And don't get me started on their restrooms. If you ever find yourself in range of a Buc-ee's, pull over and give it some business. Okay, pulling into town now. About to meet with Sheriff Barry H. Obama. Shouldn't be too hard to remember that. Hopefully he can recommend a good hotel. All I need is someplace clean and reasonably priced. Clean and reasonably priced.
And finally, it's Amy.
And when I get back, can you remind me to edit all this down to like a tight 45? Because I think that's probably all we're gonna need. All right, Diane, you're the best. Thanks.
So, first, before I mention what we're watching, Amy likes to do her. We have a northeastern, fact. Audie talked about getting fudge from Mackinac Island, and that is Mackinac Island. I'm contractually obligated as a Michigan resident to mention that, and that's okay. It's spelled Mackinac.
Right.
So we watched the pilot for Twin Peaks. And let me tell you, this was something else. Before we dive into it too much, I want to go around. I want to find out what everybody knew about Twin Peaks before this show, starting with Audie.
I had never watched this show before. I tried once not too long ago. Didn't get all the way through the pilot. Most of what I know from Twin Peaks is what I hear Scott Johnson and Brian Ibbett going on and on about on TMS. And the random clips Scott would always play on TMS from this show.
All right. Steven, how about you?
I know something Red Room, something Firewalk with Me, Kyle MacLachlan. That's about it. And wrapped in plastic, That I know, because I've heard it probably on TMS. I don't know 1,000
Yeah.
times. But yeah, I wanted to like. I know it's David Lynch. I know it's Twin Peaks, and me, I've never been real curious about David Lynch's work because it's weird. But yeah, I did going in. I knew very little. Coming out, I know a lot more.
Excellent.
I think.
Hmm.
Amy, you know as much as like anybody. I'm
Sure.
sure. Amy, how about you?
Um, I'd never seen Twin Peaks. I am aware of Twin Peaks. I am aware its name gets bandied about in my presence an awful lot. And I know about its like influence. Like I'm pretty sure that the narrator of Welcome to Night Vale, I'm pretty sure that his last name is Palmer because of Twin Peaks. Like I'm pretty sure.
Mhm.
I mean, it could be a coincidence, but I'm pretty sure it's like a nod to Twin Peaks because Night Vale is a place where weird things happen and it's,
Sure.
a whole thing. Um, but yeah, it's about the limit of my knowledge of Twin
That's fair.
Peaks.
Well, we're going to be a perfect 4 for 4 because I had never watched Twin Peaks before. Um, I
Wow.
remember it being on the air. I was too young to watch it when it premiered, and it wasn't something that either of my parents cared at all about. It just wasn't their type of thing.
Hmm.
So it wasn't something that I could have even accidentally saw while they were watching it. And when I was younger, I didn't I didn't grasp David Lynch, and I didn't really want to. I just felt like it was too weird for weird's sake. Um, in the last few years, I've started really glomming on to a lot of the weird stuff that's out there, and I've discovered that I like to embrace the weird, and so I've started watching David Lynch, and it is weird, but I love all of it. Like it's so bonkers, and it's just so surreal, and he forces all these questions on you, and then when you ask them, he says, "I don't know," and it kind of makes it better.
See,
And so watching this was a treat because I've wanted to do it for so long.
I didn't think this was very weird. It got to one good weird part, and I was like, "All right, here we go." And then I was like, "Okay."
It did that a
So
lot. It got weird a lot. It weirdness existed in the periphery of whatever you were
Hmm.
watching. I found a lot background things, odd cut tos and cutaways. There were
Hmm.
weirdness. It just wasn't always in the main. Your
so
course wasn't always right in the
of
weirdness.
of the Lynch projects that I have watched, I would say this is the least weird single thing. This particular episode,
Yeah.
but given that what I've watched is Mulholland Drive, Blue Velvet, and Eraserhead,
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
that bar was set rather high.
Right.
Sure.
Like Eraserhead is less a movie and more of an experience to go through. Um,
It also feels like
but
this being a David Lynch thing. It's just like I'm sucking you in, people. Just wait. It's
Yeah.
coming.
well,
It's
and
coming.
that's it. Like this was just scratching the surface, from what I
Hmm.
understand. And I'm spoiler alert, I'm going to be watching more Twin Peaks very soon, just in general because I want to. Uh, but this it gets weirder. But the weirdness in this is like just weird, surreal people. And there's moments in this pilot that were unscripted that I just loved, and they had that Lynch feel to them. Um, the basic plot of the pilot and the series in general is that Laura Palmer is like the homecoming queen of this high school in Twin Peaks, Washington. Right, so it's set in it was originally entitled Northwest Passage, was going to be the series title, and then they changed it to Twin Peaks.
Good
But
change.
Hmm.
they kept the name of this as Northwest Passage for this particular episode name, um, and it was a hour and a half long TV movie,
Yeah.
which debuted in 1990. It was April 8th, 1990, and it drew 34.6 million viewers. It was, I believe, the second highest rated single show of that particular week, behind America's Funniest Home Videos, maybe something like that.
I mean,
So,
that was a
which,
good time.
That was a hard
Yeah.
You
bar
want
to
to talk about
cross. Like,
weird?
yeah. Yeah, I
so
was probably
you
watching
know,
America's Funniest Home Videos while this was happening.
Same.
oh, for sure. So it involves Laura Palmer is the homecoming queen. She's found one morning dead, wrapped in plastic at the side of a river by a
Wrapped in
man who went
plastic.
up. And right away, you get
Gone
the very
fishing.
Lynchian. Yeah, you
Yeah.
get that very Lynchian feel of he just like looks at his wife and says, "Gone fishing," and then heads outside. And he's walking along talking to himself about the lonely foghorn, and then turns and sees this a body, and there we go. It sets things off. Um, and so Kyle MacLachlan plays FBI agent Cooper, and he's great. I love Kyle MacLachlan anyway, but he's so much fun in this because he's got this like weird. I don't know. There's this weird energy about him. He's so excited to be here, and he loves the trees. He's obsessed with the trees as he's driving in, talking to Diane.
I feel like he was having the absolute most fun in this show. Not like a fun character, but just having fun being this character.
I think so. And he's always recording to Diane, whomever that is, presumably a secretary back at the FBI.
Sure.
I don't know that we ever find
It
out.
could be
I'm
his
curious.
cat. I wouldn't. I mean,
It could be.
equally.
Yeah.
But the smiles that he would give at points, like that grin that he would get when something would just tickle his fancy, like just killed me when he sits down in front of all the donuts towards the end.
Yes.
It's
That
just
was ridiculous.
He's like the narrator of the story. It's like he knows more than he's supposed to know as a character, and it's like you're almost, you know how you have that character proxy that you're the outsider that comes in. We talk about Cheers, where
Yeah.
Diane was the proxy to this environment for us. Like Kyle's like
Yeah.
that, but the backwards, or Cooper, whatever you want to refer to it. Also, there's not enough movie stars in the world named Kyle. I don't know. He's like the
Sure.
only one I'm aware of is Kyle MacLachlan. But like he's the guy. He knows more than you know, but he's also your proxy. He knows more than everyone, but you're kind of going in. It was a weird change up to me. He's not the clueless one.
Yeah.
He's the one that's like, they didn't do it. That one didn't do it. He didn't do it. We should follow him, but he probably didn't do it. Kind of like he just knows the story already. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. So he's Special Agent Dale Cooper. Michael Ontkeen. I'm sure that's not right, but that's what we're going with.
Sounds like a typo.
Plays Sheriff Harry S. Truman, which is a great name. Also, I love like that. That again. That's that just. It's weird because he's Sheriff Harry Truman, and there was an episode of Psych that parodied and was also an homage to Twin Peaks called Dual Spires. And in that, they had Sheriff Andrew Jackson.
Nice.
Very nice.
It also had a bunch of actors from the Twin Peaks series. So, like Dana Ashbrook, who plays Bobby Briggs in this, the high school kid, was in that episode of Psych. And an actor that comes along later, I know, is Lenny Van Dolen. He was in it. Ray Wise, who plays Leland Palmer in this, was in Psych. Like, they did a lot of that. But yeah, you had Sheriff Harry Truman, Dana Ashbrook, who I'm not used to seeing him with dark hair. Like, I've only ever seen him with gray hair. So seeing him here, he's just a baby.
So
And
many of them were.
That late 80s high school hair, too.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Bobby has.
Yeah, all those
It's,
30-year-old high schoolers
choice.
are really doing their thing again.
Laura Flynn Boyle is in this.
She's the one that seemed really babyface to me because I remember I didn't watch it necessarily, but seeing The Practice on TV or reruns or commercials or something, like she just always seemed, and it was like, she was like this powerful woman on that show, and seeing her as like this little high schooler, it was like, whoa, that's weird.
Sherilyn Fenn was Audrey Horne, who has the great like patent leather shoes. Her little what are those, Mary Janes? Is that what they're called?
Oh, yeah. No, those aren't
The
Mary
black and
Janes.
white.
Those are
No, the
saddle
black and white.
shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I don't
Yeah.
know shoes.
Mary Janes have the strap. They're like slip-ons with a strap over your foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just a host of weird, like quirky characters, I think is what we'll call them. My favorite character, by the way, in this entire episode was the kid in the high school who closes his locker
Dude,
and then just does the goofy
Yes.
dance down the hallway.
Yes.
that
no
was like
reason
one of
at
those
all?
background things I was telling you about. Like that's the kind of weirdness that I'm here for. That's what So at the beginning, like there's so many tones and it's so somber, and I was so mad at you because you don't make an empath watch a show where a kid dies and the parents are giving realistic reactions to this event. I'm okay with it zooming out into the sky and them yelling no at the top of their lungs, but breaking down is
It's
not
not
okay with
okay.
me. I was
my
I was
So
like, Travis,
I
I
gotta
hate
say
you.
though, watching it on Paramount Plus, the mom is like sobbing, right? Like
Mhm.
sobbing,
Mhm.
just completely broken down. Like when she know, like when they know for sure, right? Like
Yeah.
because she suspects it, and she's sobbing, and then you go to commercials, and then it's 3 commercials, and it comes back, and just like right in the middle, and she just picks it right back up again. And I was like, I can't.
I'm real
What are we
glad I pay for
doing?
the ad-free Paramount Plus at this point because that would have really ruined the
It
mood.
was a lot.
Hey, yeah.
But you mentioning how real those performances were, though,
Oh, yeah.
Ray Wise, when he like his performance at that scene, because so it's Laura's dad, and he's at the hotel, he's about to give a presentation to a group of
Norwegians.
Norwegians who are gonna,
Norwegians.
who are like buying into something.
We're supposed to.
Gets the are supposed to, gets the call that his wife is, gets told his wife is on the phone. That whole scene, he is so good in it
So good.
because like
I made a note. Give Ray Wise all the awards.
All of them. 100%.
yeah, I love that. And meanwhile, he's on the phone with his wife, who is breaking down in
Mhm.
hysterics.
Mhm.
I really did enjoy that. But yeah, then you get the tension broken with goofy stuff like that going on in the background with that kid, which was unscripted. That was just like
Good on that kid.
That is
was
awesome.
probably on the day, just like, I don't know, close the locker and I don't know, do something weird. And he just
Mhm.
does this little like worm interpretive dance thing and goes down the hallway. And I was like, that's amazing. Because the other part of it is, I guarantee you that you probably went to high school with somebody who did that at some
Yeah.
point.
Oh
That's why I
yeah.
was
Oh,
Like,
like, it's
yeah.
not like it didn't strike me as weird. It just struck me as yeah.
Yeah.
but
I
the
mean,
It's like
weirdness of it is to
that was
see it
one of
in a
my friends in
show.
high school for sure. So
yeah.
yeah,
Not even care if
that's
anybody's watching. Just gonna do that.
that's
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
Mike
Just
who
doing a
Yeah.
weird
dances like
thing.
he does.
Um, and most of the episode is Sheriff Truman and Agent Cooper trying to just figure out who killed Laura Palmer. You have her best friend Donna, Laura Flynn Boyle, and Bobby is Laura's boyfriend, who's also in apparently a side relationship with Shelley, a local waitress at the restaurant. That scene also was just kind of like that first scene in the restaurant where Heidi shows up, and
Mhm.
That was cute.
that was adorable. And then he plays the song and they leave. I loved. I did like when he's driving up to the house with her, because they're obviously going to her house to get busy, and then her husband is home, and so he just slams on the brakes. She gets out and he just peels out of there. Like he just takes right off, and she's nowhere to be seen. I kept looking for her in the background as he's driving away. Like, nope, no actor out there. So, oh well. Um, when it gets announced at the school, also the screaming girl, when the police officer comes in to talk to the homeroom
Hmm.
as she's taking attendance, the girl screaming and running out, that wasn't scripted either. That was just like an insert thing, because that was what Lynch did a lot of in this. From what I was reading, was a lot of weird or just abnormal like improvs on the moment. Like, for instance, when Cooper is examining Laura Palmer's body, and he's in there with Sheriff Truman and the doctor, the coroner, and he makes mention of that
The
fluorescent light that
fluorescent
keeps
lights.
flickering.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That wasn't scripted. That was a malfunctioning light, and David Lynch was like, "No, you know what? Keep it in.
I mean, it works.
Yeah.
It's disconcerting, and let's keep it in." And then they added, and I love this because I had to watch the scene a second time. They added in Cooper telling the doctor, "Hey, can you leave us alone? Can you leave the room?" And the guy responding with Jim, because the actor thought he was asking what his name was.
Yeah.
And Lynch was like, "You know what? Keep it in." So Agent Cooper says, "Can you leave us alone?" He goes, "Jim." "Yeah, can you leave us alone?" And then he just walks out.
Nice.
It doesn't make any sense,
Mm-mm.
but that's fine. There was another one which is right at the end. during that little dream sequence. Um, if you are able to watch it and pay close attention, in the mirror reflected in the bedroom, there's a guy behind some of the furniture, and that wasn't part of the script, but he was like the set decorator or something. He was part of the crew, and they were moving furniture around, and someone said, "Hey, if you don't get out of there, you're going to get caught behind the furniture." And Lynch was like, "Hold on," and he filmed him behind that, and then used it later. And like, it was the cinematographer said something like, "Well, you're going to have to reshoot that," and he goes, "No, just leave it in there. It'll be weird, and nobody will understand what it means." So there's just
That's
like a dude
amazing.
in the
That's my
background.
whole thing, right? It's not like deep, it's just lazy.
But
It's
what he
just
did,
lazy.
was he thought it made for an interesting visual, and then he incorporated it into the series later, because I did read something where he becomes a character later. But it was born out of like, well, guys, this is kind of cool looking. Let me just shoot this and I'll figure out what to do with it later. And that to me is something that I just enjoy, because weird stuff or happy accidents like that can make for sometimes really interesting plot points, and sometimes just like, what the hell is that? I don't know. Do you? No, I don't. And you just move on. So
Yeah, I mean, good of him to use it like that. That's smart to do that. But I mean, it's easy when you've got a contemporary show, and you're not some like futuristic sci-fi show, and some guy accidentally is standing over on the side and it gets caught on camera.
or or a period
I mean,
piece about pirates and there's a guy with a cowboy hat on the deck of your
mhm,
boat.
or a series about dragons and they leave their McDonald's cup on the table. That kind of stuff.
I feel like that would work
Not
if
that
you were
that
David Lynch. You'd just be like, and everybody'd be like, "Oh
You
yeah,
just be like, it's fine.
yeah, it's fine."
Hmm.
You
and
have a
it,
reputation for being a weirdo, so we're just gonna accept it. You get a lot less nitpicking.
I th- yeah, and I think why it works for me is because he doesn't get pretentious about it. People can interpret all sorts of stuff into it, and he's like, I just thought that looked cool in the day,
Yeah,
and that's why I did that.
it reminds me of, you ever see the movie Finding Forrester with Sean Connery? It's one of my favorite movies in the world.
I have.
But at one point, he says he quit writing because he got tired of what everyone telling him what he was trying to say. And I'm like, this
Yeah.
sounds about like what David Lynch would do. Like, I don't. It's not that deep, folks. Just calm
No.
down.
No, it's not. It's just doing a thing for the sake of like doing it and then letting people interpret it however they want, which
Yeah.
is what I have come to enjoy. That's why, and I think I've mentioned it on this show before, but I know when I watched The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob a lot on Shutter, and
Wait,
they had
those
Phil
words,
Tippett
Joe blah
on.
blah blah. What is
Joe
that?
Bob.
Joe Bob. Okay.
Joe Bob Briggs is a character. He does a show on Shutter. He used to do Monster Vision on TNT back in the day.
Mm.
And then he's done a bunch of, and it's always like cheesy monster movies or B grade horror, C grade horror movies, that kind of stuff, exploitation films. Um, but he had Phil Tippett on for a animated film that Phil Tippett made called Mad God, which, if you've ever seen it, it's fairly new. It is experimental, I think, is a nice way to put it. It's a movie that Phil Tippett took like 20 years to make. It's all stop motion animation, hand done.
Dang.
But it is beyond bizarre. None of it makes any sense at all. And at one point, Joe Bob, while he's interviewing him, says, "Phil, what is Mad God about?" And Phil pauses and then says, "It's about 85 minutes." And that was as much as he would say.
That's a good answer.
That's
Mhm.
I
incredible.
was like, that's perfect. And that's how I feel with like David Lynch does a lot of that kind of stuff where he'll just put something out there and then it's like, what is it about? And watch it. Who cares? But this was a phenomenon. Twin Peaks was huge in its time, and it was heralded as the show that would change television. In some ways, it kind of did, because I feel like Twin Peaks paved the way for something like The X Files
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
saw a lot of
to
that DNA
exist.
in here.
And it was highly, I mean, it was highly influential for creators as well, in television, in video games, in books. Um, you mentioned Night Vale, Amy, as a
Yeah.
podcast that has some definite Twin Peaks influence. Um, there's a game that came out a few years ago, Thimbleweed Park, that I love, and I know Steven's played. And I think Amy, you've played it or at least
I played
seen
it.
it. That's heavily influenced by Twin Peaks and X Files.
Hugely so. Because I mean, I was thinking about all the crazy characters that are in Thimbleweed Park and the music in particular. It's very much like playing Twin Peaks, the video game,
I will
to some
say, I
degree.
did very much enjoy the music
Man, it was
in
good.
Twin
Oh,
Peaks.
the
The
music.
music was really good. The
Yeah.
rest of it
The-
I could have left, but the music was quite good.
It was heavy there at the beginning, though. I was like,
Oh yeah.
somebody's leaning real hard on this synthesizer, and I don't know if I can
Yeah.
take it. But then when Cooper comes along and it plays that like funky, slow surf rock guitar deal, I'm like, all right, I'm just anytime they want to play that, I'm here for it because it is setting the feel for this show just as
There's
it does
that.
exactly what the score should do for something.
Yeah, there's like that little bit of swingy jazz that'll play in
Yeah.
scenes, like anything with Audrey. Now,
Mhm.
there again, like the character of Audrey is a very David Lynch type of character where she's just, I, she has no bearing on the plot
She's an
whatsoever
agent of
for this episode.
chaos. Like I wrote
Yes.
Yeah.
down Audrey sucks in my notes.
Yeah,
Because
I actually
she
had the
is-
exact same note.
she sucks. No, you spill coffee on somebody's papers, like you are a monster. Like on
Uh-huh.
purpose. That ticked me off to
Mhm.
no end. I was so mad at
She
her.
just lets the intrusive thoughts win.
Yeah.
Like-
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. She's every impulsive
Yeah.
thought you ever had.
If confronted with a coffee cup and a pencil, yeah, no, I get it.
I've thought
then,
that
like-
before, but I'm not gonna do it. What the devil?
And then she goes directly from that into the other room where the Norwegians are all like doing
Mhm.
something. They're translating something, I think, or taking like English
Yeah.
maybe. And then and she like makes it a point to draw their attention to tell them that her friend from high school was found dead and just stand there and they all I laughed out loud though when they all stop, look at each other, and then look back at her.
Mhm.
And
it was
I
when they were leaving that killed me.
yeah, I was on the floor.
Norwegians are leaving. The Norwegians
Yeah.
are leaving.
I was on the floor. I'm in the middle of a murder mystery that initially had me a mess and is now confused me to the point I don't know if I'm watching a comedy or a drama or a murder. I don't know what's going on, but the Norwegians are leaving is not something I expected to hear when this started.
I'm glad they're
Um,
leaving because that scene just before she says anything, he makes the one comment that just made me just a little bit uncomfortable. Is something wrong, young pretty girl? I was like, ooh, that.
I feel like it's like I was
Ooh.
willing to chalk it up to not being great at English.
Yeah, translation
Sure,
problem.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
I was willing to
But
willing to give him the benefit
I'm
of the
really
doubt.
good at English, and that hit me the wrong way.
Yeah, it was not great.
Yeah.
It was also 1989, so
Yeah.
Sure.
and it's David Lynch's world, which is
Yeah.
always just like not ours. Like people don't do things that normal human beings do in David Lynch's universe.
Speaking of normal things people normal don't do is when the mom is calling around looking for her daughter, there's one lady that just wanders over and starts playing with a big old pair of scissors like a fidget spinner. And I don't know if anybody else picked up on that, but I'm like, why she got these giant scissors? She's just clapping. I'm like, what is going? That's another peculiarity for me. Like, why does she have those in her hand? There's no paper. She wasn't cutting anything, but now there's scissors. What are we doing?
Why not? You also had like the one psychiatrist doctor who sees Cooper and Sheriff Truman and like follows him down because he wants to follow them to the morgue.
Yeah.
He was a little strange and
Yeah.
very eager.
Yeah, he's done bad things. Can we talk about the morgue scene again though? Because that was
Yes.
my favorite part. It was my
Yes.
favorite part. That was the part that was like, all right, now things are gonna turn around.
Mm-hmm.
There was a letter R, and I was like, this is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And and then that, and then nothing.
It
Whatever.
didn't go anywhere.
So
There's a letter
I
R
was disappointed forever.
deep in that fingernail. I was cringing like you
So
wouldn't believe.
awful.
that worked so well, and what's great is it was a sleight of hand trick. It
Oh,
was just apparently Kyle MacLachlan just did some sleight of hand to make it look like he was digging way deep while
Yeah.
digging while just pushing them back in his hand. Because when I
oh,
was watching it initially, I had the same thought. I was cringing because I'm like, oh, fingernails,
Mhm.
fingernails and feet are the thing for me that I can't deal with.
Mm-hmm.
I cut my foot open on a shell in a lake when I was a kid. So anytime I see somebody like cut their foot, or like even in a movie like Die Hard that I've seen a billion times, I'm still just like, oh, that's that scene where he pulls the glass out of his foot. I just, yeah.
I've never cut my foot, Travis, and that scene will it makes me cringe. I think feet is just
Yeah.
we know it's a good way to know we're not supposed to hurt our feet, or it makes everything difficult for us to survive.
Yes. But yeah, fingernails are the other one. So that was really effective. The show does dive into more of that kind of stuff, from what I understand. Again, I haven't watched the rest of it, so I'm just going by what I've been told. But it does get into a lot more of the murder mystery behind things. Now, here's we watched we watched the 90-minute U.S. release of the pilot. There was actually an additional about 20 minutes filmed that they edited in at the end that wraps up the story, that actually exposes who the killer was and wraps everything up, and it was released in Europe as just a movie, a TV movie, and I think in some cinemas, because they did that in part because they weren't entirely sure if it would get picked up as a show or not. And then when ABC did pick it up, that's when they kind of cut it at the dream sequence and went on with the series. So
Yeah, it's funny. This whole pilot, kept feeling like, I mean, the start of definitely felt like a movie opening. Did not feel like a TV series at
Mhm.
all. And the whole time, I'm like, this feels like a movie that's. He was just like, no, let me drag it out. I want to do more than just the movie. Let me keep doing. And it's like, "Brr."
Well, and it's funny because he would do something similar a few years later. Mulholland Drive, which is a film he put out in 2001, actually began its life as a made-for-TV movie with the hopes of it being picked up for a series. And so he made the movie um, initially as a TV movie. It didn't get picked up for series, and then he scrapped it, reshot most all of it, or reshot like another half to wrap it up as a full movie, and released it as Mulholland Drive in theaters.
Interesting.
So TV, he had gotten into television fairly early on, and he's always one. David Lynch has always wanted to just kind of jump around to different formats too. For a while, he wasn't making any movies. He was doing weather reports online. He would do videos, just giving you the weather every day, for whatever reason.
Sure.
So it's just he's an eccentric person, I think is a way to put it. But the series did continue on beyond this, and pardon me.
I'm gonna
Sorry.
not remember to cut that out of the podcast. Apologies to audio listeners that silence is in there.
It's better than hearing me cough.
That sounds
So-
like work, and I'm just not gonna do it.
Leave it in and then never explain it, and people can interpret it however they want.
Exactly.
Why is there
but-
silence right there?
Yeah, every time.
Which is also the plot of a movie I really like.
And why are we all being silent? Travis is the only one coughing. It doesn't make any sense.
But yeah, I mean, Twin Peaks. It's a strange show. It's also, I think, a product of its time too. I think that could be a part of, especially when you're looking for and you've heard about how weird it is, and then you watch this, and it's quirky. It's a little strange, but it's not like completely bonkers weird. But we're also almost 35 years from when it came out, and we've gotten a lot of very strange media since then because of this. So kind of imagine watching this in 1990 for the first time, when you're used to just your basic half-hour sitcoms, or like the hour dramas that we got were the A Team and um, Hill Street Blues and stuff like that. And then this comes along, and it's so vastly
So
different.
weird.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that's a good. Thank you for setting that stage of where the culture was at the time, because I didn't really place it in the same place as MacGyver and the A Team and all those kinds of things that we were used to. Yeah, this was way out in left field if you consider
Yeah.
it in the context.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a full 3 years before the X-Files hits the
Yeah.
air.
Yeah.
And that was a show that really changed things. So I think that kind of plays into it. It's also strange because there's not super good characters throughout it. There's just like weird, strange people.
It's
And
wonderful.
this doesn't give you sort of any one central character to follow except for Agent Cooper. I
Yeah.
feel like he is the one to follow. So you kind of have that, and like we don't know anything about Laura Palmer. We will learn more, I believe, as the series goes on if you do continue watching it. But I want to know. I have a feeling I already know the answer to this question, but Amy, do you plan on watching any more Twin Peaks?
So, like, if the purpose of a pilot is to sell you on a TV show, it didn't. I'm good. That's fine. I'm all set. Thanks. Just if you guys
Fair
figure
enough.
out what's up with the letters, you just let me know and I'll catch up later. I'll go read the wiki. It's fine. I don't. It's just, it was very boring. I was so bored the whole time.
Aw.
And I didn't mention the secretary at the police station.
Oh
She was
man,
great. She
Kimmy
was phenomenal.
Robertson. I love
and-
her to death. Like she's just my favorite. I've heard her voice in like everything. And I was sitting there watching like that's her. I know who she sounds like, but I could not remember like what I knew her from. And I still can't think of what show or movie she was in that I know of. I just remember her voice and I remember saying things. It's driving me crazy. I even looked at IMDb and I couldn't figure out what thing I had watched with her in it.
Yeah, and I kind of tried to do her bit for my opening, but
It was
I didn't
very
do a
good.
very
You
good
did
job
it.
of
Very,
I
very
I
good.
picked
You
up
did
on
it.
what you were doing. It was
Yeah.
great.
But I just love like her over explanation of everything.
Mhm.
Just kills me.
I
So
just feel
great.
like she's had to. Like, that comes from a place of you're not going to listen to me what I'm saying, so I'm going to just keep saying it until you finally get it.
Mhm.
So I don't know if this is part of the series or not, but I feel like her and Deputy Andy are an item, and maybe
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
why she has to over explain everything because Deputy
Yeah.
Andy's kind of magoo.
Look,
Poor
he's
Andy.
he
A lot
going
can't
on.
he can't
He's
handle. This is a
Yeah,
small
but-
town.
Not
This
made for
isn't
this.
Murder
Yeah.
Center, USA.
Mhm.
He's used to helping cats out of trees. That poor guy. I
Yeah.
was like, don't make this guy go to look at dead bodies.
That's
He's
the
not
guy who
gonna.
got
do
inspired by
that.
Andy Griffith.
Yeah, this is this is Andy and Dag Barney. You know, that's who he wants to be. I was so upset that they had him look at that dead body. Leave that man alone. Send him back to look for speeders on the highway or something.
Pretty much. But yeah, I did like him, and I liked that character. Phil brings up a good point in the chat. Twin Peaks isn't the 4-dimensional chess people think it is. It's madness wrapped up in a parody of soap operas, and that's why it's fun. And if you do think about it that way, it is very much a parody of a soap opera. And everybody, like a lot of overacting, a lot of really overdone stuff, or just people doing things that don't make any sense. Like, why did Bobby and his friend start barking at James
Dude.
at the end?
That was
For no reason?
wild.
Yeah.
It was wild. Yeah.
Like, just stuff happens. Why? We don't know. Does anyone care? Not really. It's just sort of there. Steven, are you gonna watch any more of this?
Yeah, 100%. All day. I told my wife, I was like, I don't know what I just watched, but I know that I enjoyed the crap out of it. I had to get about 20 minutes in. And if you hadn't forced me to watch this, I don't know that I would have made it that far. Because I was like, okay, the synthesizer is going to get the best of me. I'm not going to be able to handle it anymore. And then finally, at 36 minutes, Cooper shows up, and the entire show changed for me. And then there's the high school door locker guy. He's the champion that kept me interested through the hard times. And then Bobby and his mullet friend, like going to pick up
Right. Yeah.
Donna. Like mullet guy sucks. I wrote that in my notes too. He sucks. Drapes lady. We didn't even talk about Drapes lady. She
I'll talk about Drapes
killed
lady.
me. Just why does she have an eye patch? And why the drapes don't matter, but her opening and closing them at the end of the night, I couldn't breathe. I was like, what just happened? And then Log Lady, we didn't talk about Log Lady. I have so
She's just
many
Log
reasons.
Lady.
She's just Log Lady, carried a log around like a baby. And the mayor, like, is this thing on? I was just enamored. I cannot stop loving everything I watched about this show. I'm in. I told my wife, I said, I think this is for you. I don't really know. I don't know who this is for, but she loves Dateline. She watches it all the time. So like this is basically Dateline for weirdos. We're going to have an awesome time watching this thing. And I was like, I will watch it again with you because I'm going to look at the weird stuff in the background that I didn't even notice the first time because I'm sure it's there. I'm over the moon. I'm over the moon. The biker bar that was small on the outside and massive on the inside, like a dang sound stage. Is this what people who'd never been to a biker bar think a biker bar is? Because it was weird. It was like a jazz club with leather and bikes. I can't say enough about how much I enjoyed this, and I
No,
regret
I
I've never
100%
watched it.
believe that biker bar exists now.
Yes.
Like, it didn't in 1990, but you can absolutely go there now,
Oh yeah,
for
I'm
sure.
just
Probably in Washington State. Makes
Mhm.
perfect sense.
And it's
Bobby's.
exclusively playing music that was, for
Yeah.
this show.
Yeah.
It's the weird lingering of the camera on things that you don't think it should linger on. That's what gets me. Like Bobby on the roof of the car just drinking and then doing this weird dance. You could have cut 10 seconds, but you just stay on him. He's just like, whoa, and like leaning over and like, what is happening? I was so excited. I loved it. I would turn on episode 2 right now. I'm in. I'm sold. I get it. Bring it on.
Okay, so we're at 50% would watch it again. Audie, how about you?
No, I'm on Amy's side with this one. It
Okay,
just
thank you. I was starting to believe that I
no,
watched a different show from everyone else,
You
no.
watched it
Like
in
with
which the
different
same
eyes.
exact things happened.
we talk
But
about the weirdness of it and the weirdness of David Lynch, and it's just that's a weirdness that does not entertain me and do it for me at all. So like all those cuts and all those weird like, hey, let's hold the camera on him for way too long. I'm sitting here like, yeah, it's way too long. Cut that camera. Like, what's next?
that's too long. I'm
I'm
so
done
bored.
watching Bobby dance on the car. Okay, great. Bobby's drunk. Great, got it. Can we move on
Yeah.
now? So, and I've already read the wiki and know what's going on, so yeah, I'm okay. Like at
That's
one
fair.
point, whenever I tried to watch it before and I couldn't, I was just like, well, now I didn't want to know what happens. Holy crap, Steven, you're in for a ride, dude.
It's so weird. I'm glad that we have kind of a split because this is a real good idea of how the world is split on this show. Like
Mhm.
you either are gonna find the joke funny or you're gonna be just annoyed by the whole thing and not bother. And that's okay. Like
Mhm.
either way
Right.
is totally fine because it makes sense why you wouldn't like it. Like I understand.
Mhm.
There's certain shows where
Yes.
you go, how do you not like that show? Because it's kind of at everything. This show is definitely one where it's okay to walk away. You don't have to.
Mhm.
Mhm.
No one's gonna talk you into
Absolutely.
it either.
Yeah.
I couldn't talk you into liking it and be like, well, you
No.
don't see the depth. Like, no,
Mhm.
there is no depth. It's all surface.
Nope.
And
Mhm.
if you can get it and laugh at the surface, you're gonna have a great time. And it's so absurd. It goes from like, it's just, I don't know, top notch television. I'm in.
Yeah, I'm on your team, Steven. I'm watching more of this. I can't wait. It's just my kind of weird, and I
It
enjoy
was
that.
weirder.
It
It was not weird enough.
we didn't have the red room in this, which
No, we didn't.
from what I understand
Which
is
I
very
did
strange. Or
apparently at one point inadvertently build in my Animal Crossing home. I didn't know until I posted pictures of it on the internet. I was like, oh, okay.
There you go.
Whoops.
It was in its
yeah,
basement. It was full of
we didn't have the
turtles.
red room, and we didn't have the person that speaks backwards. So that's something to look forward to.
I can't
See,
wait.
Steven as
I'll
well.
just go watch Gravity Falls again. I just
Hmm.
Well, there again, though, like like there's a show that was heavily influenced,
Yeah.
obviously, by Twin Peaks as well. And I think that is another part of this is like you don't have to like Twin Peaks. I get it. Like I totally understand anybody who just is like it's not for me. But you can kind of see where this influenced other
for
stuff,
sure.
Oh,
and people
absolutely.
kind of took that idea and either ran with it to an even more absurd level, or distilled it down into something like they were able to take things with it. So, um, if for nothing else, I'm just glad that it exists,
It's
um,
it's
because it was phenomenal.
there's a couple more things that I wrote down that I think are worth digging into. Why Cooper calls it a movie pictures just boggled my mind, and I was just so happy that somebody went, "Who took these pictures?" And it's a flippin' video. It's 1990. It's not like VHS was new. I mean, it'd been around for a while. You think who took this video might be how you would say that. And then she goes, "Oh, the high hitchhiker lady took the pictures. It's a video. What are we doing?" I just love that weird dialogue. And the guy who said Girl Scout cookies, that tickled me. I don't know why. Just that just made me so happy. Like, why do you say Girl Scout? See, I think the reason I like it so much is I'm a weird people watcher, and when people don't fit a pattern I understand, it fascinates me. So no one in here meets
So
a
this show is just a
normal.
whole bunch of fascinating to you.
Yeah, it's so fun to watch because it's so off kilter, and I like that's what I look for. If I'm the guy, the old man sitting in the mall just while his wife is shopping, just staring at people. And I know it's not
Whatever.
what you're supposed to do, but it's what I do. And I observe the guy like tying his shoe funny or what. I just it's me, and that's why this works.
Well, I mean, look, we were split right down the middle, 50-50 on it. Worked for two of us,
Mhm.
and the other two don't ever want to watch it again, and that's completely fine. I'm
Mhm.
not going to hold that against you at all. Now, had you said that about Star Trek last week, we might have to have words.
Yeah,
Um,
you're wrong.
right, those would be the words. But yeah, that's Twin Peaks, and I can't wait to watch more of it. But it's Twin Peaks. That's the only way
Yeah.
I can describe it.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. Early
Mhm.
'90s absurd kind of takeoff of like primetime soap operas,
Mm-hmm.
effectively.
Yeah,
So
particularly when Donna and Bobby or Johnny James, what was the guy's name? They motorcycle in the night, in the woods, and
yes,
they just start
Mhm.
making out, and nothing makes sense. I'm like, what are we doing? That's the soap opera bit that I don't
hmm
understand. And I was like, what? What? Where are we? It's amazing. I'm sorry. I'll stop talking
hmm
about it now. Well, you want to do a podcast on Twin Peaks? Has that been done before?
Right.
Just a
there
couple,
Yeah,
there
just
might
a
have been a
hundred,
couple of those.
couple
Yeah,
one or
hundred.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. If you do want to watch Twin Peaks, it is currently streaming on Paramount Plus, so you can get it there,
Mhm.
or you can buy it. I think on Apple, maybe.
I think so.
I think they have it. For a while, oh, that was another thing. For a long time, you could not get the pilot on home video. The
Oh
the
wow.
series got released on DVD without the pilot. They just started from episode 1 on, and it wasn't until 2007 that the pilot was released on home video in the States. You had to get like the European version. Then when they put out like a super deluxe gold DVD edition, they put both the European cut and the American TV cut of the pilot. And that I thought was kind of cool.
So
But yeah, I
JF.
remember working in a video store when you could buy Twin Peaks but not the pilot, and I was like, but
Hmm.
everyone tells me the pilot is the best part. Why would you not have that on there? And it had something to do with rights.
That makes sense. JF Dubow sums up this show exactly how it should be summed up. Twin Peaks is a late stage soap opera that starts on the season when a soap opera usually runs out of ideas. That is 100% what this show is. Exactly the best description. If I ever had to tell anybody, that's what I would tell them.
It's, the show has run out of ideas. Start throwing out the weird stuff.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You get
Yeah.
you get Twin Peaks,
Yeah.
Yep.
Find the demon possessed lady. It's time.
and have Log Lady. Just why is she carrying a log? No
Log
one cares.
Lady. I want a whole side quest about Log Lady and Eye Patch Drapes Lady. I want both of those like Laverne and Shirley style, a story. That'd be great.
So that was Twin Peaks. Now we're going somewhere different next week, Audie. Where are we going?
We got a new
Where are we
topic.
going?
Yeah. So we are doing non-US TV shows.
Oh boy.
Okay.
So I'm starting us off with one that it's one that's a little bit of a cheat only because it did actually air in the States as well, but this is a product of our good friends to the north.
Fine. I was gonna say, like,
Oh.
for the sake of for the sake of the thing, right? Like, as long as it aired in the play, like
Yeah.
it's just like not a US show that filmed in Toronto. Like that doesn't
Mhm.
count. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Yeah,
made in
yeah, yeah.
Vancouver is not enough. It
Mm.
as long as it is a product of that
Oh,
country, we're
it's a
good.
it's a product
I
of
think I know what it
Canada
is. Do I
Me
know what it
because
too.
is?
it is a show called Due South.
Oh, I did not know what it was.
Yeah.
I knew what I thought it
Um,
was. That wasn't it.
the sh-
I want to
it's
know what you thought it was because I want to know if it's what I thought it
I want
was.
to know. Is it Degrassi Junior High? Is that?
No.
Oh, okay.
no.
I didn't even know if that was
No, but that
from
would
the
have
No.
been a good one.
90s. Yeah.
Due South. I thought about starting us off with the pilot just to get us introduced to us, but it was another hour and a half long pilot, so I was like,
We're done
no.
with those. We're not doing any
Yeah.
more of those.
I
I'm
need a
sorry I
break.
started it.
So no, we're just gonna do we are gonna do a holiday episode though, because there's a particular part of it that I wanted to do. So we're doing season 1, episode 10, The Gift of the Wheelman.
Okay.
Um,
Oh.
Nice.
and this particular show is only currently on YouTube right now. Somebody actually, I think, scrubbed all the DVDs and put them on YouTube because
Right
that's about the
on.
only place you can find it at all, along with some of the behind the scenes making of and stuff. So, but we'll get into that when we talk about the show. So, but yeah, Due South, season 1, episode 10, Gift of the Wheelman.
Nice.
Excellent.
I'm ready for some Canadian television. Let's go.
So that will end pilot month, our second
Mhm.
pilot month that we have done for this show. I'm looking for feedback here. I got some likes on threads, but nobody responded. However, on Twitter, Phil Rude did respond with just a GIF of the log lady saying, "My log does not judge." And that kind of is perfectly fitting for this show. So I think that was great. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Phil.
And yeah, we will be back next week with Due South and non-US television. That's exciting. I have to think of something good for this,
I
because
have
and it
so
won't
many
be Degrassi.
options. I'm thinking of getting a BritBox subscription for us to share as a result. Like
Ooh.
Nice.
all my favorite old shows. They're
Yeah,
all on there.
yeah. It's gonna be fun. So yeah, if you want to send us any feedback, you can find us on Twitter at Those Days Show. We will eventually probably branch out to some other social networks. You can go to, you can email thosewerethedays@gmail.com. Send us emails there with your thoughts on Twin Peaks or Due South or any other thing that we've talked about, and just tell us what you think. We'll read it on the show. You can also go to twodorks.net/discord and join the Two Dorks Discord, where we have a specific channel just for this show, and it's a great community full of wonderful people that you can chat with as well. So please do that. Yeah. Any closing thoughts, Amy, on Twin Peaks?
So bored. Guys, I wanted to like it so hard. I was so ready to like it, and it was so
It's okay. You don't have to love
It's
everything.
fine.
Yeah.
bored.
You're in a
just can't be in
judgment-free
the
zone.
you can't be in the
my
Super
log
Twin
is
Peaks
judging
Club.
hard. I can't. My log does judge.
Your log does judge.
It finds it wanting.
Audie, any final thoughts on Twin Peaks?
No, but that's fine. I'm just understanding like Donna's dad was after she got arrested. So whatever.
Steven, how about you?
You know what I think. I will go watch another episode right now. Who needs to sleep? I'm in.
Yep, I'm the same way. And so until next time, until Due South, for Amy, for Steven, for Audie, I'm Travis saying keep it weird and yeah, Keep it weird. That's all I got.
All right, saved.
Woo!
I need to wire up a button that lets me stop the Reaper recording, like at the